We are live on location with Sarita Parmar of Sarita Parmar Coaching and Consulting. We're going to talk about a little bit of personal development for business development. I believe you're going to take me in that direction. So I'm really excited. Sarita, great to have you here on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Jeff.
Yeah, and I'm excited to talk to you because when I first met you, we started talking about some business coaching and development.
Yeah.
And one of the things that really got my attention and that I thought was really interesting is you work on the people for a business. So a business's employees, you'll work with them to improve themselves, to work on themselves, which in turn helps the business overall.
Yes.
And so I want to dive right into
That's
that. I want
part
to
of
hear
it,
about
yeah.
that. Yeah.
For sure. It's funny because, there are a lot of different things. So there is the business coaching piece and advisory services. So I help a lot of entrepreneurs. Let's say they might have an idea. I actually have a contract with an organization called Community Futures of British Columbia. So they offer various programs, and then they sometimes outsource some advisory services, consulting services. So first of all, I grew up in the banking world. And so I love working with small business owners, medium-sized business owners, and startups too. Banks don't typically work with startups. And so I was exposed to a lot of coaching through the Community Futures organizations. And say somebody has an idea. A lot of times they have this idea and they want to rush into business without laying a proper foundation. That's where a coach will come in, and that's where a business plan comes in. You know, one thing we always say is you wouldn't construct a house or build a house without blueprints, and that business plan is your blueprint. So that's for the startups. Then there's people that perhaps have been in business for a number of years, and they're past that startup stage, but they've got gaps in the foundation, we'll call it. Or maybe they want to take their business to the next level. So essentially, where are you at? What are your goals? Where would you like to get through? And then I offer general business coaching services.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And you also have a little bit of stuff that I read that you help people figure out how to manage their time and focus on what they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's something that is really difficult for me is keeping focused on whatever task you're doing.
Yeah.
Because you're constantly, you'll receive a text message from someone or you'll receive an email and you'll feel like, man, I need to stop what I'm doing in order to, address this and then you're into stuff like invoicing and billing, and you've got to quote other projects, and then you've got to schedule them. And there's so much stuff that just takes so much extra time. And that focus bit is the part that I find it's so difficult to keep your focus when you're running a business.
Yeah.
And when you're trying to specifically when you're trying to get jobs done and projects done, right?
Yeah.
Pulled in different directions. What's one of the things that you help people with to kind of just maintain that focus and avoid the distractions of life?
Yeah. So no, that's awesome. And you're not alone with that, right? We are all pulled in 1,000 different directions, and especially business owners, right? We are wearing multiple hats. And so we touched a little bit about the coaching and advisory services I offer to business owners. The other part of my business is speaking. And so what I mean by that is delivering keynotes to organizations as well as workshops. Now, a lot of my workshops are focused on burnout prevention while meeting your goals, while maximizing productivity. And I put that in air quotes because that can look different for everybody. Just like success looks different for everybody. It's not the traditional money means success, right? So what I do is one of my core workshops is actually around personal energy management. And in there, I talk about different pillars. One of them being personal well-being or self-care. Overused word, I know, but self-care means different things to different people. Time management is one of the pillars that I talk about in there as well. And it's for me, I think it's really understanding your own values, why you're doing what you're doing. What can you delegate? Because there are things, you mentioned invoicing. And It's funny, I laughed earlier, even though you were talking about yourself, because I do invoicing for my partner's business, right? So I guess he's delegated that to me, but so that's where I was going with it. Can you eliminate something? Can you delegate to somebody? Focus on, I say, know yourself, make a list of your values. What is important to you, right? Like I said earlier, why are you doing what it is that you're doing? Make a list of those priorities and schedule time. What gets scheduled gets done. And in the past, I may have mentioned to you, I call it structured hustle. Like when I was in the corporate world, it was all about just a rat race, climbing up the corporate ladder. People wear busyness and burnout like this badge of honor. And after going through a health scare, my whole perspective changed. And I redefined what the heck success means to me. And so when you talk about focus, it's funny because I did do a LinkedIn post the other day. And I always say this, people talk about time. Yes, we all have time, but people don't talk enough about protecting your energy, protecting your focus. So that's why I say, go back to the priorities, schedule it, that's your time. And it takes energy. And a lot of times I find myself doing something, I talk to myself a lot. And one of the things I find myself asking is this the best use of my time and energy? So when you talk about focus, we live in a world, I'm sure all your viewers watching, there's so many demands, everything is urgent. But just because it's urgent doesn't mean it's important, right? And this is where, when I do my structured hustle, I will do some time blocking. Say 2 hours where I know I'm focusing on deep work. It could be content for an upcoming workshop, a keynote or presentation I'm delivering. And what I do is I put my phone in do not disturb mode. And I also have the Calm app, and they have something called, I don't remember what it's called, but music for focus. So I will put that on, and it's like the brain just knows it's time to focus. So if my phone is like, it doesn't ping because all my notifications are off. And sometimes what helps me too is if I tuck my phone away so I can't pick it up, because that's another bad habit I've developed in keeping my phone on do not disturb. I find I'm constantly reaching for it to see if a client responded to an email or if anybody needs me for anything. And so sometimes what I'll do is I'll tuck it behind my computer so it's not within sight, but I can still hear that music and I just focus on what I need to.
That is really interesting. I love that concept of, you have to put the phone away first of all, because that's my biggest thing is I'll have it sitting, I have one of those stand-up chargers that you can see, right?
Oh,
you can see the screen. So, I'm always using it so I can see the clock. But then you see that like Instagram notification might come up. And when that comes up, you're like, oh, I wonder what that's up. Did somebody post something interesting? Is it funny? Is it interesting? Is it, or is it just like a friend sending me something that he wants me to see? And I find it's way too easy to get pulled into something like that. And before you know it, you just spent 10 or 15 minutes scrolling through totally unrelated and unimportant stuff. And that's where I lose my focus. And have you ever picked up your phone and like gone onto Facebook or something and just scrolled for no reason and then said to yourself, oh, I need to shut this off?
Yes.
And swipe it away and then realize like a minute later you just opened it back up again?
Yeah. Or
what's up with that?
100%. And I do the same thing. Been there, done that, still do that. Or sometimes what'll happen is I pick up my phone to do something. Maybe it's to make a note in my notes app or send an email or Google something, and I get distracted. So even though my notes don't, my phone doesn't ping because I have the sound off, for some social media, I still have notifications on because I also do social media and marketing for my partner's business. And so I feel like we need to respond quickly if somebody's calling with a honey order or something like that. And I do get distracted and I'll do something or I'll scroll like you're saying, something catches my eye and I put my phone down and I'm like, oh wait, I didn't do the thing I picked up my phone for. So
Yeah.
we are all guilty of it. And I think the key is, one, just becoming aware of it, right? And some days we'll have more focus and more motivation, but one, it's become aware of it. If you're not aware of it, you can't change it. And two, repetition is very important, right? Training your brain. If you, again, you become aware of it, acknowledge it, talk to yourself. You're going into focus, you're only doing Instagram. And it might sound silly. You're going in just to respond to your Instagram messages and putting it away. And you can check your phone in an hour or whatever the case may be. So it's just constantly serving that narrative to your brain.
Yeah.
And eventually it'll land. And then some days it won't.
Yeah. Do you find that music, certain type of music does help you, or certain type of like, because if you're using the Calm app, I'm a little bit familiar with it.
Yeah.
It's not like it plays music really, like there's
Right.
no guitar and stuff like that in it, right? But
It's funny that you say that. They might, and you know what? I will have to double check. They have a whole bunch of things, so I really enjoy it. I actually, as bad as this sounds, I do sleep with my phone. Like, I think I have better sleeps when I don't.
Yeah.
But I've gotten into the habit of listening to some of their sleep stories, and then I drift off to sleep.
Oh yeah.
And then I have it set up as rain sounds. So after the sleep story is over, it'll just play rain sounds.
Right.
And you know, I think it's okay. It's a tool, right? We figure it out as long as we're not telling ourselves, hey, I have to wake up at 5 a.m. for that early morning to prepare for that early morning meeting, and then you're scrolling on TikTok until 2 a.m. Been there, done that as well.
Yeah.
Maybe not 2 a.m. Now I can't stay asleep longer than midnight, I'm going to say. But yeah, it happens to the best of us. But with guitar, I think they have like coffee sounds, or like I do this as well sometimes. I'll play coffee sounds in the back. I have an iPhone, and so that's a playlist as well. Sometimes I go into a coffee shop to work, but sometimes there's that focus app that I use especially for my deep work.
Yeah.
But sometimes, like, and I work from home, and when I'm home alone, I'll just even put on a YouTube channel. I don't even remember what it's called. Let's pretend it's called like Coffee Store Jams or coffee music. And there's a cup of coffee on my screen, and it's just like this gentle, slow, smooth jazz in the background.
Oh yeah.
And I find it just kind of creates an ambiance.
Yeah.
So that's for like focusing, doing work, and maybe some people will find it distracting, but the way my brain is, I like having that background noise. And to answer your question as well about music, yeah, I love music. Sometimes I find when I need to get energized, even this morning when I was showering and getting ready to make my way here, I was listening to my 90s playlist.
Oh yeah. That's the best year.
Heck yes. Just blasting music. I find it just helps get me in a pumpy mood, you know, energetic.
Yeah.
And I will also say as well, when I'm working out, I find something about gum gives me a little something, but then music as well. I find it just allows me to push myself a little more when I have that upbeat music.
Right.
So I think music is very powerful.
Yeah, I know what you mean about the music being able to like pump you up and stuff, because I remember, you know, I used to get on the elliptical or something, and you want to do a really intense workout or something. So I'd throw a movie on like Aliens, right? and that would get you moving. Like there was no way you're watching those people getting chased by aliens and running for their lives and not run yourself.
The adrenaline, yeah.
Right? Yeah. And there's a funny app you can buy. You throw like your iPad down right in front of you so it can see your face, and it actually watches you like if you're running, right? It sees your head going up and down. And it's called Zombie Run or something like that.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, so you start running and you see this nice scene, and as you run, you're kind of running through alleys and roads and stuff. But if you start slowing down, you start hearing these zombie growls behind you, right? And then they're chasing you.
Nice.
So then it gets you going, right? So then you've got these sounds kind of motivating you along, and then you also, because you're being challenged by that, you're trying to like beat previous records and previous bests and stuff like that. and the zombies start pushing a little harder, and they start getting closer, and it pushes you to run a little bit faster.
This is an app?
Yeah,
like
it's
on
an
your
app.
phone or?
Yeah, on your phone. I threw it on the iPad because as you run, it takes you through locations. So you can actually run like through Italy. Like
wow.
You get a route through these cobblestone streets and stuff like that. And
Italy's beautiful.
yeah, and the faster you run, the faster it plays back because it's watching you, right?
Yeah.
It's watching you move. Yeah, so I thought that was really neat. But yeah, definitely music and shows and stuff will pump you up. And I bet you, if you're listening to that calm music, I bet you that's kind of training you too, that while that music is playing, you kind of subconsciously know, like, okay, it's work time, right?
I agree.
Do you ever feel that? Like
I do with the focus music.
Yeah.
With the focus music. And you know, I said there's something to be said about repetition and training your brain. Mm-hmm. And so it's interesting. First, when I started doing it, I found I would still pick up my phone or allow myself to be distracted by, say, an email notification or something, right? But the more I do it, it's like the brain just knows now, this is your focus. So even though you might be aware, okay, there's new email, and you know, sometimes I leave that notification on, but you're less likely to open it or check it because you know, hey, I'm doing this for 45 minutes or I'm doing this for 1 hour. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. I'm going to try that actually. I think I need something
and
like
start
that.
small. Are you familiar with the Pomodoro technique?
No.
Okay, so a lot of people find that this helps. So the Pomodoro technique is essentially to help with focus and time management as well. 25 minutes, you give whatever task it is that you're doing, you give yourself 25 minutes to focus on only that task. You take a 5-minute break. And in that 5 minutes, get up, go do something that you enjoy, and come back for another 25. And you do maybe, I like to customize stuff. You know, I think they suggest do that 3 times. And then the 4th time you take a break, make it a longer break. Yeah.
So you're kind of treating yourself to the break.
Exactly.
Like you're
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Something else that you said was really interesting. You were talking about, was it scheduling your tasks? So like I schedule jobs and projects all the time. I'm like, okay, between, you know, like today, right? 10:30, right?
Yeah.
10:30 to 11:30, we're going to do this.
Yes.
But I don't actually have time scheduled to do the work, to do the editing, right? So I'll schedule the hour, but what I do need to do now is I need to take that and say, now there's going to be like 4 hours of editing on top of that.
Yeah.
And that's something I never thought of. I just find time to do it, like in the evenings or on a weekend.
You just sort
and
of
I'm
fit it
catching
in.
up.
And so that's the other thing. And I know you're really good at what you do. If people haven't checked this guy out, check out his videos on YouTube. He's making one for me too. Stay tuned. So, you know, I want to just talk about burnout for a second too. You know, people think burnout comes from you're working for somebody else and you are again pulled in different directions and it's not your own priorities. We can also burn out from the things we love and we're good at. So when I hear you say, you know, if I've had a busy week, sometimes I have to fit that editing in on a weeknight or the weekend. So now what you're doing is taking time away from when you could be being chased by zombies on an elliptical, family time, friends time, whatever that is. And so one thing I've also found helpful is I don't like scheduling meetings on a Friday. And I know like sometimes you have to make your schedule according to when a client needs you. If you have to fly somewhere to shoot a wedding or somebody's doing a big event on a Friday night or a Saturday night, I get that. But you usually know at least a week in advance what you've got coming up, if not longer, hopefully longer.
Yeah.
And what I would suggest is pick one day where you don't take meetings, and that day could change every week. Or you say Tuesday afternoon, Thursday afternoon, I'm not taking meetings because that's editing time. And I one of my clients, and I've shared this with people too, she has a very demanding job at the college. And not only does she have a demanding job, she's a people manager and has a whole team that relies on her to do their job. So of course you have to be accessible to your team. What she told me is she actually blocks Tuesday afternoon and Thursday afternoon, puts it in the shared calendar. Her whole team knows she's not available. And she uses that time to do whatever it is that she needs to do.
Wow,
And
I love that idea.
I
Yeah.
think it depends on, the industry, your clients, the type of work that we do, but there are workarounds it. Yeah.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
Sunday's another day. If people ask me to do something Sunday, the answer is usually no.
Yeah, yeah.
I need that one day to rest or rot, or if I go somewhere, it's my choice. But I usually don't like committing to anything on a Sunday.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah, I don't like it either, but I find like my line of work, weekends are often when other people are available to do stuff like that. But I feel like the worst thing about that is I feel like weekends end up being my catch-up days. Like those are the days where now I'll probably be editing this on the weekend, right? On a Saturday or something. But what I do need to do is what you said about taking that Friday, like saying Friday, unavailable for other stuff.
Yeah.
Do that editing back to back with other projects. And I
Yeah.
bet you that would really work.
And sometimes, when people are used to doing things one way and they say, I'm going to uproot my whole system, that's not sustainable and it's not going to work. And then you'll feel like you failed at it and what's the point? And it's easy to revert back to old ways. So I always suggest start small. Maybe it's not a whole day that you have to book off. Maybe you start with 2 to 4 hours where you're like, this time I'm shutting off my phone, I'm focused on editing. And then that way, whether it's the evenings or the weekend where you have to do other work, maybe you have to meet clients for something. I've got one friend in Ontario. She has a super busy job as well. And she has busy seasons. Like, let's face it, like we all go through that. We go through different seasons where sometimes, even if a girl says or a guy says, hey, I'm not working on the weekend, there are seasons where you find yourself working on a weekend. Yeah. What I appreciate about what she does is she'll text me. It's funny because we use each other, I think, almost like accountability partners or just somebody to like bounce ideas off of. So she'll say, wake up, send me a good morning text and be like, I'm working from 8 o'clock to 12 o'clock and then done until Monday. And that'll be on like a Saturday morning.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I love that too, because she's still setting those time boundaries. She's training her mind, okay, you're in work mode this time, get done what you need to, but the whole weekend isn't going to be work and other people's deadlines.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have to do that busy work on a weekend or an evening to make life easier for that week or month, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's so true. Something else you said that really kind of struck with me was you said something might be urgent, but it might not be important, right? And that was really interesting because that actually happened to me this morning. I had quoted a job and, I had all the dates out and I had the prices out. And I got this email back and it said, we're going to be starting this right away, but we've changed the dates and we need to now know your availability. And because the times have changed, we need to know the prices as well.
Yeah.
And we need this like as soon as possible. So now I'm at home and I've got my coffee beside me and I'm sitting there with my wife and I just want to relax, right?
Yeah.
Relax for the morning and just kind of have the morning just kind of lead into the next project. But I had to do this. I felt like I had to do this right now. Like I was told it needs to be done as soon as possible. And sure, it's important and it's urgent on their part, but it's probably something that I could have pushed off until the afternoon, right? Or done another time. But I felt at that moment that I needed to do it right now.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think a lot of us feel that way. And what I'll say to that is, as cheesy as this sounds, think about the power of the pause. Just pause. So many times we feel like we need to respond immediately. We don't. My daughter ran into something similar where it was this babysitting opportunity. And the way the adult asking her to babysit handled that situation was very poor, because an adult shouldn't be putting their emergency or their lack of planning should not become a 16-year-old girl's emergency.
Yeah.
Now, while you're not a 16-year-old girl, same principles apply. It goes back to what are the priorities. And there are going to be that times where something else gets moved so that you're able to accommodate them. And sometimes it just requires a simple conversation, depending on what it is. But ultimately, you get to decide. And like I said, there are going to be times where you're like, oh crap, I wanted to enjoy my coffee with my beautiful wife. And now, I can't even enjoy my coffee and I got to reshuffle things around. Maybe. But do you have to? And it's funny. One of my sisters, she's actually a counselor, and they went away, and she was sharing a story with me. I don't even remember what the heck we were talking about, but she shared a message she sent somebody, and I just said to her, I'm very proud of you for being honest. And she said, I believe there's always a way to be honest and do it kindly. And yeah, it sounds very simple, but I think we don't have to kill ourselves in order to please others and what's important to them.
Yeah.
It sucks, but then when you think about what you're giving up,
Yeah.
maybe your wife was going away for a week and that was the only time the two of you had together.
Yeah.
Maybe that you had booked that day to do editing or something, You get to decide though, but don't feel bad. And that's what I'll tell people. I'm a recovering people pleaser. So I still need those reminders. And I think I'm doing them a disservice by saying yes.
Oh, yeah.
Because it builds resentment. And you find, what I have found is when I'm my authentic self and I just share my situation and I'm honest, I'm not responsible for how they react.
That's really good. I like that. And when you said like that resentment there, that's kind of how I felt afterwards. I was like, this is something that I'm quoting on. And it was something where they've already got the numbers, but they changed the dates and stuff. And they haven't even hired me yet. It's just, so I gave up this 20 minutes of, coffee with my wife. Now they better hire me, right? They better hire me for that project because I did that right now, And recovering people pleaser. I feel like my business depends on that. It depends on me being available, being accommodating, right? Being, if you send me a message, you're going to get a response right away, or if you need something, I'm going to do it as quickly as I can. And maybe, a little bit of that needs to be kind of like scheduled a little bit better or planned, right? And that's one of the most difficult things for me.
And you aren't alone in that either. We all struggle with that, right? And again, especially when you're a business owner or you're managing a book of business, a large part of our schedules are dependent on the client's needs. And one of the things as well, I had a thought. What did I want to share about that? Is setting client expectations. And so one of the other things that I talk about in my workshops and when I speak is the importance of setting boundaries. And I don't always like that word because I think it can kind of have a little bit of a negative connotation, but I can shift that a little bit to say communication is very important. And when I was in banking, I remember a manager said to me, even if you don't have the loan approved, because, there was a whole approval process, I put the package together, send it off to my credit department, now I'm waiting on them. They may come back and say, we need this, we need that. Or that loan application for my business client is in the queue. Well, if you're my client and you're like, Sarita, I need to buy some new podcast equipment. What the hell? Like, what's taking you so long? And I just disappear and you don't hear from me for a week. You're going to be like, what's up? What's going on with this incompetent banker? But what really helped me was sometimes just checking in with the client and saying, hey, still no news yet, but I learned there's 3 files ahead of you. So I don't have a yes or a no, an approval or a decline for you, or an approval subject to conditions yet, but you will know and you can reset expectations. So that communication is really important. But when I talk about boundaries, communication, another thing that I have suggested to many people is, say you are working on an important project and you can't be disturbed. People email you. You could put your auto reply on to say, I am out of the office. I am out of town for the next 3 days and will be slow to respond to messages. Or, I only check my messages between 12 and 4. Please expect a response at that time or within those hours. So now what you're doing is you're communicating in a kind, respectful way, right? Again, you're saying, this is what I do, and you're training your clients. You know, if I email this guy, or, you know, you could say, if it's an emergency, call my cell. No one's going to call your cell.
Yeah. Wow, this is really good. I feel like I'm getting like my own personal consultations out of this. That was something else I never thought of. Yeah. It sounds like there's so many ways to like manage your time better.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. At the end of the day, I will say we need to figure out what needs to be done by us and what we can eliminate. You know, especially in this day and age of automation, are there things that can be automated? Are there things that maybe at the beginning of your business you started? Because when we first start a business, yes, we are the ones wearing all the hats. We can't afford to outsource. So there is that pain we have to go through.
Yeah.
But that's why it's important to revisit the business as well, because the business model that you started with may not be serving you now. So it's really good to have people that you can bounce ideas off of. And a business coach can absolutely help you with that.
Yeah.
Maybe you've got a good relationship with your banker, you know. Friends and family are great. What I find is they may not always be the best to, if you want to run something by them as a sounding board, because they are your biggest cheerleaders.
Yeah.
At least I hope so.
Yeah.
So, you know, if I'm your friend and you come to me, or, you know, let's say you go to your best friend and you're like, hey, I'm thinking of this. Jeff, I've seen your videos. You're an amazing man. You could do anything you set your mind to. Okay, but you also want somebody with some critical thinking skills as well. That's why it's really important, personally and professionally, to look at who we're surrounding ourselves with. I always say, even the content we're consuming online. I'm a self-development junkie. And I think there's burnout from overconsumption too. Sometimes I need to just check out, even though I think, oh, it's all for my workshops and I'm delivering this talk on time management. It gets to be a bit much. Sometimes it's good to just put it all away, sit quietly with yourself without the phone, and figure out what's coming up for me, what's bugging me, what's keeping me up. What needs my attention that I've been putting off?
That's interesting. You had mentioned burnout, and you mentioned earlier you can get burnt out from doing stuff you love. Have you ever experienced that?
Yes.
Yeah? From doing stuff you love?
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. It goes back to also managing energy. And it's funny because I joke with my partner, like, he is even keel. He's the calm to my chaos. And I'm like this. And so I'm very energetic, use up my energy, and then I kind of crash. So I can be excited about something and talk 1,000 miles a minute. And do you know what I mean? And then I go home and I am exhausted. You know, like I could do a podcast, be super excited, and then say, today I don't, but I also don't do back-to-back meetings anymore for that reason, even though I love supporting clients with their goals. Somebody can become burnt out if you don't schedule time to take care of yourself too. And what I mean by that is, you know, we talk about scheduling and time management. One of the things that has, you know, that's probably been the best investment for me health-wise is, or just overall, is investing in a personal trainer.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So my trainer, love her, she comes to my house 3 times a week.
You have time for that?
I have. You make time.
You have to.
It is so funny. My daughter went late to school today and she was talking, she said something and she's like, I don't have time for that. I think I was telling her she's very anxious sometimes with her grades and how she does in school.
Yeah.
And so, I guess I have to be mindful of the time, and not everything can be a teaching moment, which I'm learning. But she's already stressed, and I just said, Jaya, I said, I think if you didn't go on your phone first thing in the morning and you just took time to take some deep breaths, and she was like, I don't have time for that. And then, of course, I should have just shut up and let her be. And I just said, the people who say they don't have time are the ones that need it the most.
It's true.
So what I find, though, is I actually book my meetings around my training. You know what I said, going back to your values and your priorities about what's important to you?
Yeah.
So in 2018, I was diagnosed with an aggressive form of breast cancer. Went through very, very aggressive treatment. And coming out of that, again, as cliche as it might sound, it causes a person to reevaluate their priorities. And also my definition of success changed. And what I learned from that time was I do need to invest in myself. And people say, my husband is the most important person in my life, my children are the most important. Yes, they can be. But if you're not there, you're no good to your husband, children, family, friends, loved ones, clients. You're good to nobody.
That's like putting on the mask on the plane
On the
first,
airplane.
right?
Yes.
Yeah. You're no good to anyone if you don't put it on first, and
Exactly.
and you're passed out on
And another thing that I cherish, which I've gotten away from, is waking up before my family so that I have time to enjoy my coffee in peace.
that. Oh, okay.
The days that I don't do that, I'm more impatient with everybody. Well, everybody being Neil and Jaya. Those two poor souls get the brunt of my anger. But the other thing is when I work out, like it's only half an hour. I don't even do an hour. I do half an hour strength training, and we go hard in that time. But the results of it are what fuel me. And because I know I walk away with more clarity, I walk away feeling a little bit more confident, I can handle the other things that I need to handle. But if I don't do that, if I don't work out, again, I am a little bit bitchier.
Oh, we're gonna have to beat that out.
Okay, sorry. If I don't work out, I do find I am less patient. Things get to me a little bit more, where when I take that time to invest in myself, and it's not just the morning workout, sometimes I go through my week and I might not be feeling good. I might be feeling low on energy. And so I might have a list of what I call priorities that I need to get done. Again, I will pause and be like, what is it that I need right now? And sometimes it's just going into my room, locking my door, and maybe I do need to just take a time out. I could read a book, I can scroll on social media, write in my journal, whatever the heck I need, talk to a friend. Usually what I find I do is if I'm feeling certain feelings and I don't want to take it out on my family and friends, I will just withdraw. And it's not in an unhealthy way, it's like a timeout, just to regroup.
Yeah. Well, being aware of that is key too, right? Like if you're aware of it, yeah, like you said, you're not backing down or anything.
Yeah.
You're aware that that's what's needed right now. And yeah, taking that breath sometimes you just want to lash out at somebody, like there's a slow driver in front of you. And I just experienced that, the last couple of days.
Yeah.
But you just take a breath and just kind of sit back and look at it, and it just kind of goes away too, right?
Absolutely.
But I want to ask you about your trainer.
Oh yeah.
Do you train at home? Do they meet you at home?
She does come to my house, but she doesn't come to everybody's house. So
No, I'm just asking for you.
Yeah. She comes to my house. Yeah. I have the equipment that I need at home.
And do you do it first thing in the morning?
The time can vary because she's got some other stuff that she's doing right now. But yes, I prefer it in the morning. I have done it at lunchtime and later in the day. But I joke with her. We have this joke, let me get you over with. And I'm like, wow, could you imagine if a friend was coming over and I'm like, let's get this visit over with?
Yeah.
So sometimes she'll change the time and be like, come on, I know you want to get me over with. Let's get me over with.
Yeah.
So I prefer the morning.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think about that too, and it always feels good to get up and do something first thing before you do anything else. There's a gym that I go to, like I train in Taekwondo, and I have so many excuses why not to go, right? You know, a lot of it comes down to time because now I'm editing in the evening even, right?
Yeah.
But just the fact that at the end of the day, like it's just so hard to drag your butt out somewhere and put in an intense workout and then come back home and relax after that, right?
Sometimes what I find though, Jeff, is that movement gives you more energy. And so I like working out in the morning. I find as the day goes on, my energy sort of depletes. I know people that do like evening workouts just to get that second burst. Like there's people that work out in the morning. And when I say workout, it really, I mean movement. That could look like whatever the heck it is for you, you know? Maybe it's a walk around the block. Maybe it's on your elliptical. Maybe it's strength training, whatever the heck that looks like. Maybe there's a gym class. And there are people that are self-disciplined and motivated enough to just go to the gym every day and work out by themselves. There was a time in my life I did that as well, but I do a lot better if I have a time and a place I need to be at. So when I wake up and let's say my trainer and I have changed it to say we're working out at 7:30 today and I wanted to sleep in, I'll still make myself get up and then just take a nap later that day. Like I'm good to go because it makes a huge difference. Sometimes what I'll do is I have a walking pad at home too. And even if I don't want to, I'll just tell myself, do it for 10 minutes. You can do it for 10 minutes.
What's that?
My walking pad.
Yeah.
So it's like a treadmill without the handles. It doesn't incline or anything. It's a small pad that I have upstairs in front of my TV. So in the evenings, and it sounds like I do a lot, but I think I talk about it more than I actually do it. But it's so easy to just turn some TV on, watch your favorite show, you're binge watching something on Netflix, especially if you've had a long day, right? Many of us, it's like you want to pour that glass of wine, sit in front of Netflix. I'm trying to change some of my evening routines. And so that walking pad upstairs, even though I've got a treadmill downstairs, I find my office is downstairs and my workout area is downstairs. So in the evening, after I've clocked out for the day, I don't go back downstairs to go on my treadmill. So what I did was, it was something I just ordered online. I think it was like no more than $200, $250, and it folds up so you can move it. But I have it sitting in my living room. I never fold it up. I just leave it there in front of my TV. I have my inside runners. And so, I don't know, let's pretend I've eaten. I tell myself, whether you feel like it or not, you're just going to do 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
But again, it's that talking to yourself and doing it even though it feels hard. One thing that helps me is not thinking about actually doing it, but thinking about when that time is up, how I feel.
Yeah.
So it's that mindset shift that's helped me immensely. It helps me with my workouts, whether I want to do them or not. I think about when you walk away sweaty and those endorphins running through you and you feel like throw whatever you got at me because I can handle it. That's why I do it.
Yeah.
Another thing too I'll share with you is when my oncologist discharged me as a patient and we had our final conversation together, and he told me how often I'm supposed to get checked by my family doctor, all that stuff. And I asked him, outside of medical stuff, what is it that I can do for myself to avoid recurrence or just stay healthy? Exercise is what he said to me.
Oh,
Yeah, science backs it up too, right? There's numerous studies on it as well. So it's just got this whole host of benefits. Movement. There's another speaker that I know, and so this isn't mine, but she has this little, not even a tagline, but it's called, she said, motion changes emotion. And so I say that quite often now. And it's true. Yeah. Movement is medicine.
Yeah. You know, I know somebody who talked about working out hard, and they said not just a normal workout, but like a
Yeah.
hard workout.
Yeah.
What you just said, motion affects emotion, right? What they said, or their theory was, do something so hard, work out so hard that you're just tired, that you're just weak, that you've just pushed yourself to the brink of wanting to quit and beyond that. And they said, things that bothered you before that will seem to not bother you now. Like you might have 3 emails sitting in your inbox and you're just like dreading. I dread opening my inbox to respond to those. And you go do this workout and you just push through it, hammer through it, and just beat yourself in this, intense workout. And you sit down in front of that computer and look at those emails and go, those are nothing now.
Yeah.
Those are nothing compared to what I just did.
Yeah.
Right?
I think a lot of that is mindset though.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I agree that advice is good for everyone, like pushing yourself that hard. And the reason that I say that is because I used to do HIIT workouts, so like high intensity.
Yeah, those are exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah.
So that might be fantastic for some people, but I'll be 46 this summer, and I was in medical menopause before the age of 40. That changed a lot. My body can't handle HIIT workouts.
Right.
Women in perimenopause and menopause, it's more about low impact now, and you can still see results or lower intensity. And there might be some people that disagree with me, but from what I've researched, plus my own personal experience, plus conversations I'm having with my female friends over 40, HIIT doesn't work anymore. And I'm not going to pretend to understand the science fully, but I'm going to try. So cortisol is our stress hormone. So if your cortisol is already increasing and you go and put your body through more stress, it's not helping. Do you see what I mean? You're just getting tired and exhausted and burnt out, and now you don't have energy to do anything. It actually does the opposite of what you want it to.
Oh, yeah.
So again, whether it's time management, whether it's starting a new workout program, start where you are with what you have. There are some people that don't work out. They don't move, They sit at a desk all day, and then in which people say is the new smoking. Sitting is the new smoking. I think that's why people have.
That's definitely what I do. That's definitely me sitting. Yeah.
So, there are so many people where they are tied to their desk because of the type of job that they have. And again, it's just learning to change habits, starting small with what you have. Maybe it's just pulling your chair away and stretching, stretching your neck, going like this. There's like desk yoga people can do. Or maybe it's setting a timer and saying, hey, I'm going to go refill my water bottle or wait for the kettle to finish boiling for my tea, and I'm going to do 10 squats. Or, you know what? I'm going to set up my timer, and another one is I did this challenge one time. Every time you went to the bathroom, you did like 25 squats.
Okay.
Or you say, hey, I'm just going to go for a walk around the block. Start small. Or I'm going to walk down the street and walk back. And then just make that time longer, right? The thing is making it a habit, repeating it. And don't underestimate the power of that mindset. We get stuck in our ways and think we have to do something, or I can't afford to walk away. It goes back to what you're saying, when you take that time out for yourself, you come back to these emails and you're like, okay, I was stressed about it, but I can handle it.
Yeah. Well, I was younger back then when I heard that. So yeah, that probably makes sense. I know I definitely don't have the energy that I had 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And in fact, the person that I just got back from being out of town working, and the person I was traveling with is 33. And he'd step out of the truck and he's like, oh, my back. And I'm like, I don't even want to hear it.
Yeah, exactly.
You're a lot younger than me.
Yeah.
And
Oh gosh,
so
no, I hear you.
Yeah, it's funny being growing up, right, and growing into this feeling that you remember your parents talking about, like their parents are being achy, and you're just wondering, like, what are you complaining about?
Yeah.
And now you're feeling it yourself. And
oh gosh. So when you talk about working out in the morning, I need to move a little bit. I don't like just wake up and then go straight downstairs to work out. Like I need to stretch. I do feel things.
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't say achy, but I do feel like I almost need to like move to like lubricate my joints or something.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I look forward to my yummy cup of coffee every morning.
I so look forward to the coffee.
That first sip, especially when the whole house is quiet,
Oh yeah.
that's elite.
So is that what you say you should do? You should focus on yourself first.
100%.
Just do that.
Yeah, it all starts with us, whether it's your mindset, whether it's taking care of yourself physically. And for those of us who are parents, I've learned that more is caught than taught. We say, or many of us grew up with our parents saying, do as I say, not as I do. Kids are doing what you do. Subconsciously, it's landing with them.
Yeah.
And so for me, especially having gone through the health stuff that I did, I want my daughter to see like working out, lifting weights. It isn't about being skinny. Like I say, it's about being strong.
Yeah.
And I hope that lands with her, right? I mean, I can
Yeah.
talk and talk, but I feel she's watching, she's observing, and she's learning. And it's important. And a lot of people think it's selfish, but I think if you aren't taking care of yourself, like I said before, you can't be there for your loved ones. They deserve the best of you.
That's
So
so
give
true.
yourself what you need. And after my health scare, I did come out when I was mentioning, you reevaluate your priorities. And I ended up working for an organization. And I felt, like sometimes when you say, like if you've got a job interview or you're interviewing somebody, so many of us feel like, oh, I have to put on my best self and sell myself. I just feel like show up as your authentic self and again, communicate honestly, kindly. Here's where I'm at. Here's what I can offer. And it's either going to work or it's not. But if you have to pretend to be somebody you're not, that's exhausting. And I talk about energy, like that is what I try to protect the most in my life, my energy. And so pretending to be someone I'm not, I'm tired. I can't do that. But where I'm going with this is when I met with that organization and the person who was looking to hire, I just said, look, and I did not want to work full time. So it was a part-time contract. And so I just said, here's where I'm at. Like in my life, my priorities are me and my health, my family, then this job. And
yeah.
just communicated that honestly, right? And yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way to think. I heard somebody one time talking about time, and somebody wanted them to do a project, or they wanted them to do some work for them, and they wanted them to do it for free. And they said, come on, it's only your time, right? Yeah, and
Yeah.
your eyes open
You
up.
saw my eyes
I'm like,
bulge.
right? Yeah, I think about that. They're
Yeah.
they're asking you for the one thing you can't get any more back of,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
so your time is like your most valuable resource, and you want
Yeah.
to protect it, and you want to savor every moment you have of it.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. And that's where all that other stuff ties into it as well, right? Like when I talk about, yes, it's the time management, but when I talk about communication and boundaries, that's very important. So I delivered a workshop to some college students, like it was a program out of a post-secondary institution in Kelowna. And so they were like, most of them were like graphic design students. So it was like an art college. And when I was speaking to I think she was the program director. And so she said, a lot of times what happens is a friend or a family member will be like, oh, just quickly look at this, right? And they don't realize it's not just a little thing, similar to your editing, right? Like we think, well, not everybody, the people that can respect the arts and exactly what you do know that if you're shooting a video, that's not the hardest part. It's the editing that comes afterwards, right? So if somebody's looking for like a new logo or, hey, do this with my social media or whatever it is, they just think it's no big deal. You're my friend or family member, like why can't you just do it, right? or make a proposal for something. And so we chatted about that. And so I built ways to kindly say no into that workshop as well. And it's like, here's what I'm working on. And it's a big contract that's going to give me a lot of money. I only have this much time to look at it. How about you do this, you do the first draft, and I'm happy to offer some input, like as an example. Like it's saying no, but with a twist.
Yeah.
For those of us who can't just go, no. Again, the recovering people pleaser. And I know there's so many people out there that say no is a complete sentence. And maybe it is, but for me it isn't. I wish it was, but it's not. And so it's sort of like, well, I can't do that, but here's what I can do.
Oh, yeah.
And some of that might even be introducing them to a contact that you have.
Yeah, right.
I'm at capacity. I wish I could help you. Or you know what? I can't get to this until next month.
Yeah. One of the things that I had to learn to teach myself to do was the no because, and then feel like I had to give an explanation or a reason why. And yeah, I would find that you would try to say like, well, no, I can't do that because I've got another obligation at the time.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we'll just do it another day. And it's like, well, the real answer was supposed to be no, right? That I can't do it. But yeah, the feeling like you need to kind of explain yourself to other people, right?
Yeah.
Especially on a professional level when you're providing a service and stuff and you just can't. Like there's some reason why you can't, but you feel like you have to explain yourself to everyone.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what I will say to that is some people, you know, and again, some people might disagree with me, but I think there are some people in our life that deserve a little bit more of an explanation, right? And then there's some where you could keep it short. You know, it could be as simple as an event that somebody's inviting you to, not for work, but you've just had the longest week, you've traveled for work, now you have to come back and edit a bunch of people's videos, including Sarita's speaker reel. And somebody's like, hey man, come over and we're having a barbecue. And you know that this friend, there's gonna be lots of alcohol and it's gonna ruin the next day and you'll be out of commission, right? Sometimes it could just be like, you know, it's not gonna work for me next time.
Yeah.
It's kind of, you're saying it nicely, but they don't need to know, well, I'm doing this, well, I'm doing that. Because what happens is, and I'm learning this, what happens is when we start explaining, we're looking for their validation. You don't need their validation because the clients you want to work with, like you work hard and you do a fantastic job. And so when you're talking to somebody, respect is a two-way street. You're being kind and respectful. And if you're not getting that in return, do you want to work with that person?
Yeah.
Despite the money?
Yeah.
And maybe when we're first starting out, we may put up with more than we would. But again, you know, you get to a certain place in your life for your business where you get to call the shots and decide, this isn't going to work for me. I don't do this type of work anymore.
Yeah. And that's what I like about being busy is having that ability and knowing that you don't need to rely on, like, I don't need to do this to pay the bills because you know that like I'm busy enough right now and I can, and maybe I'll use that free time that I'm not doing that to do some catch up, right? And it doesn't have to be on a weekend. But I want to jump back to your, because you brought up a speaker reel. And
hint, no.
One of the things you do is speak on stage. Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. Because, okay, I'm just going to say why I want to talk about that, because it terrifies me. I am not, getting myself in front of the camera to do this type of thing was like so difficult to get myself on camera.
Yeah.
I've done it a few times now, so I feel a lot more comfortable with it. Stage, I was asked to follow Alex McKenzie out on stage. He's a local comedian.
That's right, yeah.
He's like, you know what I really want? I want this shot of me walking out on stage, and I want you right behind me, looking over my shoulder at the audience.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? You want me on stage with you?
Yeah.
And it was so hard for me to follow him out there.
Yeah.
I thought everybody was looking at me. They weren't. Nobody was looking at me. I thought I was like being looked at, right? And it was so terrifying. So I have no idea how you do it.
So do you
But-
want me to share something?
Yeah.
I am nervous every single time I go on stage or in front of a group of people.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah, I'm nervous. And I think a lot of us are. I speak with other professional speakers and they say, yeah, they have nerves every time. So
okay.
all of us do feel it to some extent or another. And I think what really helps me is the topics that I talk about and the clients that I choose to work with, the message I want to share, I'm very passionate about. And so when you're passionate about something and you know what you're sharing can benefit your audience, you take the shift from yourself and make it about who you're working with or for. And when you know, I've got this message, I know can help you, so I'm here to elevate you, to empower you, to inspire and impact you to make a difference in your world.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that kind of helps you kind of feel more comfortable.
Take it off myself and make it about
Make
them.
it about them.
Yeah.
Interesting.
What's important to them.
Yeah.
Find ways to engage them. You know, whether that's me sharing, asking them to answer something or do some kind of a poll or, you know, what have you.
Oh, that's interesting because I was asked to teach a workshop and it was in front of a crowd of people, right?
Yeah.
And for some reason that came easy to me. It was a camera workshop on
Yeah.
shooting video and stuff, and it came easy to me, and that's why.
Because this stuff is like very common sense to you, but not to the rest of us.
Yeah, but it was for their benefit, and I was
Exactly.
excited to see them kind of
Yeah.
step up into that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when
Well-
you think about, hey, how this is going to help my client or help these people,
Yeah.
right? You're not making it about you,
Yeah.
right? And I was also thinking too, when you were asked to follow Alex on stage,
Yeah.
I was like, people probably aren't even watching you.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah.
They're there to see the comedian, right?
Yeah.
But we freak out and think like, oh no, all eyes are on me. And it is scary, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many people, whether it's school or work, you have to go up and do a presentation. It is so normal to have butterflies or your palms get sweaty, your heart is racing and you feel like you're sweating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's worse than seeing those red and blue lights behind you when
Oh.
you're driving down the highway, right? Yeah.
Oh gosh, yeah. I think that freaks everybody out. Even if you are going the speed, obeying all the laws.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. There's one last thing I want to talk about. We're at
absolutely.
time, but there's one last thing I want to talk about because when you came in today, you brought a little jar of honey.
Oh yes.
And that I'm looking at it and that's like, this is custom made. This isn't from, Tell me that story.
Awesome.
Okay.
So, my partner Neil is a retired project manager in construction turned beekeeper. And so this is my man's passion project where he makes honey, he makes beeswax candles, and what started as a passion project has now turned into a small business. So it's real, raw, unpasteurized honey, liquid gold. And so when I talk about that morning cup of coffee, I have like a teaspoon of that raw honey every day. Like I've been drinking honey in my coffee for like 10 years.
In your coffee.
In my coffee, yeah.
Okay, I know what I'm trying.
Honey in my coffee, oh gosh, yeah. We even use it for baking. But so it started as Neil being interested in bees. And today, I want to say he started selling, let's do that. So he's always had an interest in it. But when he worked away a lot when he was in construction, all over. He was always traveling. And the biggest thing about beekeeping is keeping the bees alive. If you can't keep your bees alive, you're not making any money if you have to constantly buy bees and reinvest. And so when you're away working, you can't tend to the bees. And there's very time-specific things that need to be done. I'm not going to pretend I know what they are. Everything I know about honeybees, I've learned from him. But I just know there's certain things you have to do to maximize their chance for survival. And so he started selling this in, I want to say 3 years ago at farmers market. And today, 3 years later, his honey is sold out of 16 different locations.
Wow.
Prince Georgian area. Yeah.
Nice.
And so, the beautiful thing is he's got an interest in it. Like I said, it was his passion project, and he's found a way to make money off of it. And because he was a project manager managing multi-million-dollar construction jobs, he's got that business numerical mindset. He knows what goes in, he knows how much time something's going to take. And so a large part of his success is because of that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're getting busier, maybe it's time to hire somebody. But what he's chosen to do is invest in equipment to make his jobs more efficient rather than hiring somebody at this point.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm talking, he's out there taking care of the bees, making all the different types of honey, labeling, deliveries, and then I support him with sales, marketing, and bookkeeping and other administrative duties. But he has the regular raw, and we also have specialty honeys.
Mm-hmm.
So he makes 9 different specialty honeys, and he uses real fruit and real spices. So he doesn't even like people calling it flavored honey, because in his mind, flavor means like you've added something artificial, and there's nothing artificial. Yeah, it's all real. Like he gets like real berries, freeze dries them. That takes a day or two, then crushes them, then lets it soak in a warming container, then bottles it, jars it, labels it, yeah.
Well, that's really neat. Yeah, the one you gave me was vanilla bean.
Yes, vanilla bean's the most popular.
Oh, so delicious.
Mm-hmm.
It was so good. I never thought to try it in coffee, though. I'm going to totally try that now. But then the other one was a turmeric one.
Yeah.
And
so it's funny. I gave you guys both the vanilla bean's the most popular, and the turmeric one is the least popular. But the people who love it, love it. My friend's brother, he picked up 4 jars from the house the other day. He loves it. And turmeric has many healing properties. People can look it up. But, I mentioned with you earlier, or mentioned to you earlier too, turmeric is one of those, you love it or you hate it.
Right.
There's no in between. Yeah.
Okay. How do they get in touch with him or the company?
The name of the company is Bee Hut Apiary, BEE, Hut with 2 T's, HUTT. And we are on Facebook and Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm the person that manages that.
Okay. So if people want to get in touch with you for business coaching or personal development,
absolutely. They can visit my website, saritaparmar.com, and shoot me an email through there. I'm always up for a virtual coffee, or if you're in Prince Georgian area, I can come drop by and visit, and we can just chat about what your needs are and if I am somebody that you see yourself working with.
Excellent.
Yeah. The other thing too, I will add, I am also very passionate about working with women in business. And so for all my female entrepreneurs, just women in business, you don't even have to have your own business. I sit on the board as the president for the Northern BC Women in Business Association. So we have events, learning opportunities, and essentially to create a community. We've got an upcoming it's a panel discussion, and we're bringing in an accountant, a lawyer, bookkeeper, and somebody to talk about how to get a loan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So for all my women in business friends, and just share it. So, but anyways, get in touch with me if you have questions. We can always have a quick chat, 20 minutes, saritaparmar.com.
And speaker reel to be coming soon.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I cannot wait.
Yeah. Okay, great, Sarita.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Conversation.
Yeah, that was
Glad we could make it
awesome.
happen.
Thank you.
All right.